Welcome. The show is in honor of, and as always, it's our pleasure to bring information to the veterans and their families and the general public as to what's going on in the world of veterans. Returning guests has been with us a number of times and very, very helpful. John Bartow, the service officer of VFW, and John, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. John has helped a number of our veterans get benefits and get signed up with the VA, and things that you think can't be done, John gets done. So, and of course, co-host Paul Dietrich, and Paul, as always, we welcome you. We got a new thing. We're going to let Paul open the show with an editorial, if you will. Paul?
Yep. I just wanted all of the veterans out here in the community to know that right now we have an opportunity to influence legislation positively for veterans. And there are two bills currently that are sitting at the Senate. This is at the National Senate level. One of them is called the Blue Water Navy Vietnam Veterans Act of 2018. And the important item on this is that this bill was passed unanimously in the House. And what this bill will do is it'll finally recognize that people that were on ships offshore of Vietnam were exposed to Agent Orange. It was in the drinking water, it was on the decks of aircraft carriers, and they were exposed. If you had boots on the ground and you have diseases, presumptive diseases from Agent Orange, you are eligible for both compensation and for medical treatment. But the folks that were offshore on the Navy ships were not, and still are not. The other items that it covers is Agent Orange was also used in Korea on the DMZ. And interestingly enough, it was used there for about a year and a half, but only 12 months of that period is allowable for people who have the presumptive diseases to be given compensation and treatment. One of the members of my post who just passed away about 2 months ago was on the DMZ during the time period, and fortunately for him, he was there during the covered period, so he was treated by the VA for his Agent Orange exposure. However, if you're outside that period, even though they used it, it's not covered, which makes no sense. The third item is that it also covers the use of Agent Orange for those that served on air bases, in particular in Thailand, again where it was used and they're not covered. And it also covers the veterans' children who were exposed to Agent Orange, and it passed through them to their children with spina bifida. The legislation is H.R. 299, the Blue Water Navy Vietnam Veterans Act. And right now, as I said, it's sitting in the Senate. Can you give us any indication of what you see as a service officer from Blue Water Navy type veterans? How many do you see?
Yeah, we have lots of veterans that are waiting to see if this bill is successful. Getting through the Senate, and by all forecasts, it looks like the bill is going to pass through the Senate, and it's a timing issue. It's in committee. There's some things getting ironed out about how we're going to pay for it.
Yep.
Some really good ideas of how we're going to pay for it. However, we have a lot of veterans that are waiting, especially the ones that were close inshore, never got into the brown water, and they're waiting to see. We fully expect, we say almost jokingly, we're going to have to hire a new service officer once this.
Because you expect that many claims that have to be moved forwards in.
We do, yep.
Yep.
However, because of the VA's experience with the working the Agent Orange presumptive claims, we don't foresee any big problems as far as workload. They're pretty cut and dry. You know, if the VA can concede that you were exposed to the Agent Orange, and you have a diagnosis of the condition, it's pretty straightforward.
Well, that at least is good.
It is.
The other item that's important for people to understand is that right now the VA's position on this is negative. primarily due to cost. And as you said, it's great that the Senate is looking at ways to pay for it. To me, when we put people in harm's way, we have to understand that we've got to take care of them when they get back
Absolutely.
to civilian life.
Absolutely.
And again, this is H.R. 299. And what you can do out there is call your senators. Call Senator Schumer, call Senator Gillibrand, and tell them that you would like to see this legislation acted on positively. Get it out of committee, get it to the Senate for a vote, and get it passed. The funding comes after that. How do we fund it? Whatever we have to do. But meanwhile, these people have been exposed and been suffering for what, 50 years?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we need to get this moved and these people taken care of. The second bill that I wanted to speak about is H.R. 5649. And this is the transition of veterans right now from active duty to civilian life. And basically, this is a major life shift for these people coming off of active duty. I mean, realistically, you could be coming out of a combat zone and be back in the civilian life the next day.
Yep.
And there's all types of problems that occur. We have homeless problems, we have suicide problems, we have multitudes of problems with veterans coming back and trying to transition back to civilian life. What this bill basically does is extend schools and job opportunities for a full 12 months rather than what is currently out there now, which is 3 months. And really, people, we need to get our veterans back into society successfully so that they can continue on with their lives and move forward. We don't need any more suicides. We don't need any problems with them getting their school benefits, with all of the things that they need to do. And basically, H.R. 5649 is the same type of bill. We need to transition these veterans back into society. It'll allow them, while they're still on active duty, to get classes on how to get back into society. The military life tends to be very much taking care of you. You get out in civilian life, it's not quite the same. They need to transition, they need to learn how to transition back into society.
Has this bill passed the House of Representatives?
Yes, it has. It has again passed the House of Representatives, and it is waiting action in the Senate. And can you speak at all about this?
I can speak to the importance of the transition in that many veterans, while they're on active duty, see it as, you know, I got to get through this hoop. I got to get through, especially the VA Information Day.
Oh yeah.
And oftentimes, once they're out for several months, they come and talk to us, and we hear them say, "I wish I had paid attention." So, if they were given the opportunity to go back and refresh their memory and get the information again, that would be wonderful for them. It would help. It would help reduce our burden as well of having to go through the information again. You know, a lot of people, when they're getting out, they just want to have the box checked and go.
Yep.
And they miss probably the most critical step, which is understanding their VA benefits. So,
Yep.
getting them a chance to be able to do that again would be fantastic. You know.
Excellent. So again, this bill passed the House. It is waiting action in the Senate. So again, here in New York, call your senators, Gillibrand and Schumer, and tell them you would like to see them move forward successfully on H.R. 5649 so that transition is smoother for the veterans coming back from active duty right now. Okay?
Thank you very, very much, Paul. And
Thanks, Paul.
you always bring us up to date on the important things. And as Paul said, contact your senator because set politics aside, taking care of veterans is our business.
Yes. This is not
Okay.
a Democrat or Republican issue.
Exactly.
This is a take care of veterans issue.
Exactly, right. Okay. And I'd like to bring up another point. Now we're a little ahead of it, but John, let's get to talking about what is a service officer's job?
The main focus of our job is to guide veterans through their VA benefits, whether it be compensation, health care, education, and even end-of-life planning. So I like to establish a relationship with a veteran, just like some people may have an attorney for life or a doctor for
Right.
life. We kind of take them through all of the phases of their needs and stay with them for the rest of their life. When the VFW takes their power of attorney, all the services are obviously provided for free. There's no cost to the veteran.
And that's whether you're a VFW member or not.
That is true, yes.
Right.
It's whether you're eligible for membership or not. And I have a lot of pride in that because I feel like we offer a very comprehensive, broad spectrum service to people for no cost. So we can help them out with a whole lot of things. We can't get into the nitty gritty all the time with being able to help, let's say, somebody move or help somebody.
Right.
We just don't have time because of the amount of veterans we're servicing. But compensation, health care, education, and end of life, we definitely can help a great deal with all of that.
Essentially, what you're saying is the service that you provide is invaluable. I
would think so. Yeah. I mean, if I was a veteran and not a service officer, I would definitely want the services that they provide.
Okay. And you should reach out for John and people in his office, service officers, because quite frankly, if I was aware of a service officer when I first separated from the military,
Yeah.
Go back to that transition assistance
that's right.
part that
There
we're
were
talking
a million
about.
things that I missed.
Yep.
That I wouldn't have missed if I had a service officer to help me. And of course, when I got out of the military, the whole theme then was you left the military and you may believe you were never in it because of the political atmosphere out there and
Sure.
the anti-Vietnam atmospheres, was something I went to. What can somebody do to make your job easier?
Okay, so I would break veterans down into two types of categories as far as making our job easier. Veterans that have applied for benefits and worked with the VA before, and veterans who haven't. Okay, so I'll talk about each. If you've applied for benefits and we have your power of attorney, we already know your story. We already have all your files. We already have everything we need to get the dialogue going and running. So I'll give you an example what happens. We'll get a veteran who, let's say he's applied for benefits before, he's been either granted or turned down. He'll come in and he or she will want to tell their story. I have this and that, and they get into the details. Well, we have all those details available to us. So you don't really need to bring much as far as paperwork, doctors stuff. We have a lot of that. We have enough to start guiding you through the process at that point. You basically, if you can summarize what your needs are at that point and say, hey, I have this condition, I think it's gotten worse, I want to see it get increased, or I have a new claim, that's all we need to know. And we can begin working on that. And then let us guide you. Let us guide you and ask you the questions and pick out the things that are relevant and the things that aren't. Because by saving that time, it allows us to help more people. So second case, veterans that have not applied for benefits. A lot of times if a veteran hasn't put in a claim, we don't see anything on them other than their years of service. At that point, we try and figure out, besides what happened to you on active duty and your story, we try and figure out if you're eligible for presumptive things, if you're eligible for certain claims or benefits based upon where and when you served.
Like Camp Lejeune,
Camp
or the
Lejeune.
Agent Orange we just spoke about.
Yep. And then education and burial and non-service connected pension. It goes on and on and on. So while we're sitting across the table from you, we're working those issues through in our head. And we're going step by step and really trying to extract everything that you might be eligible for. In that case, in a case where a veteran has not applied for benefits, some great things to have. If you have a copy of your 214, that's great. That's
your discharge paper.
That's your discharge, yep. If you have that, that's wonderful. If you have an idea of maybe some things that happened to you while you were in service, that's wonderful. And your banking information. A lot of people get uncomfortable with the banking information part, but the VA needs that so they can direct deposit your money to you.
Okay.
And it's always a little uncomfortable for us because, people are worried these days about giving out personally identifiable information along with their financials.
Right.
But I always tell them, I say, you know where I work. I'll tell you where I live. You can come after me if something goes wrong, because we take that very seriously. We don't compromise information ever. So I would say the discharge paperwork, and a good idea, maybe be ready to tell us your story, mostly about physical and mental health ailments that may have been a result of your service, and we'll iron things out from there. But that's the best way to just be prepared.
How does somebody get in touch with you?
Several different ways. They can call the office. Would you like me to give the number?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's 518-626-5687, or they can email me at john.bartow@va.gov. Email's always the best way, because the phones ring all day. We're helping veterans all day. And every Friday, we try our best to dedicate the whole day to just answering emails and phone messages. So that's the best way to do it.
Okay. Can you give that email address again?
Sure, it's john.bartow, B-A-R-T-O-W, @va.gov.
An important thing to know also is that if you listen to John's phone number, it's an upstate phone number.
It is.
But John today, for example, is down here on Staten Island. John does commute down here to Staten Island, and he's going to spend the entire day tomorrow here in New York City, processing, handling claims, handling appeals, things like that. So there is a local representative of the VFW here to help you with your claim. It's just a matter of scheduling whatever is needed to be done so that gets taken care of.
Also, we are adding an assistant service officer. This is great news.
Excellent.
So our footprint and our presence is only increasing. We're going to be able to be down here at least on a more consistent basis, and hopefully a more frequent basis as well.
Well, you've made yourself readily available, and I tell you, quite frankly, John has helped me out, and he's gone out of his way to assist us, and much appreciated.
Oh, I love my job. I love every minute of it.
One thing I'd like to talk about, and possibly this is because our post has 7 female members, which is a very large female veteran population for a VFW post. We only have 70 members, and 7 of them are female. But what are you seeing with regards to female veterans and the VA and caseload, things like that?
We're seeing a consistently increasing women veteran population, and that's for many different reasons. If you go back into history with the integration of women into the military and serving more and more direct combat roles, operational roles, stuff like that, naturally,
you're going to have more issues.
That increase is going to see itself come into the veteran population. I would say that close to a third of our veterans are women that we see with the VFW.
So about 30-some percent.
Yes.
Which is higher, believe it or not, than the current veteran, serving veteran population.
It is, and I would say 25 to 30, like if I want to be, the low and high range. So as women are becoming more veterans, we see obviously more coming in. As far as specific issues, there's nothing really different about helping a woman as far as a man, except for they're giving us more training on the differences in anatomy and stuff like that to help us understand things a little better. It is a little more complex, and there are more complex
Some slightly
issues.
different issues.
Yes. So what we're seeing is, as women traditionally, if you look back World War II, then Vietnam, let's talk with World War II, either women were in a support role or the WAF, or then you get to Vietnam and women were nurses. And now you get to the war on terror, and everybody, not just women, but everyone, regardless of their specialty, could become a prisoner of war. Whereas in World War II, your chances of becoming a prisoner of war, if you were not a flyer, were very, very much reduced. Nowadays, you could be driving a fuel truck in a convoy and be captured. That's just one example. Another example would be your likelihood of being involved in an operational incident, direct fire, indirect fire. It now happens everywhere. It's a very dynamic battlefield. So you can be under fire in any capacity whatsoever. So we're seeing a lot more women veterans that have been involved in direct action situations. Sure. Everyone's familiar with Jessica Lynch. Yep. She was a private that was captured in a convoy. You know, I'm sure that her file is probably pretty complicated and complex.
I would think so.
So we are seeing a lot more.
And I think it's going to continue because when I was a commander, I had 3 battalions. 2 of my battalions were very heavy population of female veterans.
Yes.
3rd Battalion at that time was a combat engineer battalion, and at that time you could only have females in the headquarters company.
Yeah.
Now those restrictions are gone. So you're going to see the female population increase in those roles. You're going to have more combat engineers that are female. Yeah. For example, you right now you have them also in the infantry and the all of these roles that were traditionally male are now open to both. It's just a matter of can you do the job?
Yeah.
And by that reasoning, you're going to have significant increases in your female veteran population.
Definitely noticeable.
Need care. Yeah. Who need care specifically tailored towards the female veteran coming out. So it's important out there that if you are a female veteran, if you have issues, you need to get them on record. You need to get them your help getting through the VA. We've had the VA on here several times, and I've already expressed to the director of the local that the most serious problem that the female veterans claimed they had was when they went in and were addressed as a dependent.
Yeah.
They are no longer dependents. They're direct action veterans.
Yes.
So.
And the healthcare centers too, the VA medical centers now have women's health clinics.
Yes.
Which I think all of this is just, it's fantastic, you know. Yeah. And we're able to address their specific needs. And I would definitely encourage any woman veteran not to hesitate to come see us. We not only are we well trained and understand the specific issues that women face, but you know, we're able to guide them towards resources that they might not think are there. You know, it's evolving quickly. The quality of care for women is evolving very quickly within the VA. So
excellent.
Yeah, it's good.
Other than the women's issues, are there any other trending things that you have to deal with?
Trending issues?
Yeah.
Like, what I've mentioned this before on the show, and I need to get it out there again, is end-of-life issues. I tell everybody, regardless if they're 19 or 99, set up the end-of-life folder with us. I'm sure you guys are aware of the tragedy that happened up in Schoharie a few weeks ago where that limousine crashed, killing 20 people. Few of those people were veterans. You know, you think about how tragic that was, how young they were, and the impact it had on their families and the community. Nobody wants to work the administrative side of that, and that's what we're there for, you know. And we always tell people, we staple our business card to a folder with a few pieces of paper in it, and we say, hand this to your funeral director. You know, and what's the one thing everybody hears when somebody passes? They hear, if there's anything I can do, let me know. Yeah. Well, pick one of those people and hand them the folder and say, call John for me. And you know, we'll pick up the ball from there and make sure they're covered, make sure they get what they need. And so when we talk about trending, that's definitely trending because people are dying all the time.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. And we want to be able to decrease that burden on the family that's already dealing with the grief of the loss, you know, especially tragic like that. And it's just a reality that nobody likes, but I really want to cap off the help that we give vets with quality end-of-life care.
And it's all about the family at that point.
Exactly.
It is, yeah.
And I'll just give you my experience. In the past 2 years, we've had 7 cases of veterans who passed, and we've gotten a panic call from the family that they don't know where the discharge certificate is. And the real issue there is that you will not, absolutely will not get any honors at the funeral home or at the cemetery if you don't have a copy of the discharge. And you really can't get one overnight.
Right.
It's physically impossible. In all of these cases, we have had a copy, we have a safe at the post, and we have a copy of the discharge, and we were able to give the family the copy. In one case, we brought it to the funeral home because there just wasn't enough time other than that for us to do that.
That's the smartest practice I've heard yet.
And we were not required to keep the discharges, and part of the issue there is that that also has privacy information on it that we don't want public. That's why we keep it secured in the safe. But there is a case where these families would not have had the honors for their veteran without us producing that discharge that we just happen to have.
Exactly.
The only reason we look at a discharge is to confirm eligibility. That's why we look at it. Normally, we don't maintain them, but because of our experience, we have. You really don't want to go through this when your veteran has passed. So.
And I was joking too with our National Cemetery Administration representative. We were at an event and I wasn't feeling well, and I told him, I'm not feeling too good, you know, can I make a reservation at the National Cemetery? And he said yes. And I was shocked. You can't reserve a specific plot, but you can have everything ready, so they have all that paperwork ready for when you pass, and we can help with that as well. So yeah,
it's very important to know.
It is.
Yeah.
The other item I think which is trending is the Camp Lejeune information.
Yes.
And I know that you've dealt with a number of cases of the Camp Lejeune, and I believe, if I remember correctly, you've said that you think that the Camp Lejeune experience is worse than Agent Orange.
I think it affected more. If you look at Agent Orange and Camp Lejeune water affected more of a higher percentage of veterans. That's what I'm seeing on the ground. I could be wrong, but just from our experience, our Camp Lejeune veterans, pretty much they were very heavily affected by the contaminated water.
So they have very bad toxic effects from that water.
Mostly bladder cancer is what we see. Yep.
Wow.
Please again give your contact information.
Sure, the telephone number is 518-626-5687, and the email is john.bartow@va.gov.
One other item I'd like to just point out is for the female veterans. I know some female veterans are leery in talking to a male. You have a female assistant.
Yes, claims consultant, yeah.
At the office. So if you feel comfortable talking with her rather than John, start your claim, consider that.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to thank you for watching in honor of. I want to thank my guest, John Bartow. Once again, John, Paul Dietrich, my co-host, as always. You keep watching in honor of. We'll keep bringing you information pertinent to veterans and their lives and their families. And we love doing this for you. Thank you for watching.